Okay, hi Rebecca, how you doing? Let me see what we have. Okay, I've got your work up here, and I've got a few comments. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I think, and to me the most obvious thing, is that you're using gradients in some of the areas. And we can see some gradients in the shirt. We can see definitely some gradients under the chin, right over here, right at the side of the neck here. So you're developing your dimension and your depth and your volume using gradients, which is exactly what we don't want to do in this assignment. This is called a flat avatar. So we're trying to achieve volume and dimension using flat surfaces as opposed to gradations. Now, that doesn't mean you can't establish a good tonal variation to indicate highlights and shadow areas. You can. In fact, that's pretty much the whole principle behind this technique. So definitely don't want to add any kind of shadows or gradients for a depiction of tonal variations. If you take a look at the examples, you'll see that all of the examples in the classroom, none of them have any gradients associated. We can see, even if I just go through here, right? Well, that's the Maryland. I also kind of want to jump over to that Maryland really quickly because I want to talk about the eyelashes. So this area, this basic structure is good. The lines are great. The shirt looks great, but I do want to talk about the shirt and the upper torso a little bit. This looks fantastic. That's good illustration right there. However, this is a postage stamp, specifically a portrait postage stamp, indicating, of course, that it's head and upper shoulder. So typically a portrait, watch my cursor, a portrait's going to be something like that. Okay, now, and you're more than welcome to keep this, but my point is that you're going to develop this into a series, right? So to make the series consistent, each piece in the series has to take a relatively consistent space in the picture plane, right? So each one should be cropped accordingly and very, very consistently. So I guess the best way to look at it would be, it's kind of like, imagine each of these subjects is the exact same distance from the camera that took the picture. I know it's an illustration, but you know what I'm saying, right? So each one would have to take relatively the same spot within the picture plane of the stamp. Okay, so you can't have one kind of far away and the other one super close up. Right? So just think about that moving forward and how you're going to crop this, or if you're going to keep the entire upper torso as it is. Really nice job illustrating that shirt. That looks fantastic. So the facial area, I think, is coming along pretty well. I think the ears definitely, I think one of your classmates had mentioned something about doing the ears separately, and I totally agree with that. Also, there's a couple of gaps here in between, like the hair and the skin, so watch that. This area right here, you're starting to develop some areas, and there's another gradient in the lip, so we don't want that. You can definitely show that without using a gradient. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If we jump over here to, let me just jump over to week 7 presentation. Is it 7? Yes, it is. Here it is right here. I want to show you this really quick because it's a great technique for doing those eyelashes. Right now, the problem with these eyelashes is you've got they're all pointing kind of like in different directions. There's no uniformity and no real clarity. So it just kind of, and this doesn't sound I don't want this to sound discouraging or derogatory, but it seems like a really kind of a jumbled kind of technique that really needs to be reeled in. And the reason I'm saying that is because here's a wonderful technique right here, and it's exactly applicable to what you're doing right there. See how uniform that is, especially when you back off a little bit on the illustration. You can see, let's see right there. See how uniform that is. Now, I'm not saying go to that extreme. Now, Maryland was, of course, known for those big fake eyelashes, but I would definitely think that a technique like that might provide a more harmonious depiction of the eyelashes. Okay, so other than that, I think you're really coming along beautifully. And if we take a look at some of those examples, you want to see how dimension is established here without using. Notice none of these have gradations in them. This is a gradual tonal variation on the same hue here. So as the tone gets darker, I'm sorry, if it shades to darkest in 3 different steps. So, I mean, it looks like a gradient, but it's not a gradient. It's completely vector. And that's what we're shooting for. So definitely keep that in mind. Take a look at some of those other tutorials too. Here's one. There's one in week 6. There's some really good ones in week 6. So definitely take a look at those. But good start. All right. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to clarify. Thanks.